28 months down, yeah, the industry's been bruised, but we're not here to fold, we're here to refuse. While others pause, we built the plays, now we're leading the charge in a brand new phase. You feel that tension, that's the pressure to grow. Hiring's messy, turnovers high and budgets low, but we don't panic, we adapt. We sharpen the edge and reload the map. This is the staffing playbook, strategy on tap. Steven brings the grit, G Money brings the slap. Forget the fluff, forget the spin. We give you plays that actually win. From the break room floor to the boardroom seat, we've walked the walk, now we bring the heat. CDLs, forklifts, line leads, and execs. We place the best and fix the wrecks. Insight, hustle, leadership, bold. No safe takes, just the truth told cold. Wanna scale your team, wanna close that gap. We got the data, the story, and the roadmap. So turn it up, lock it in. This is more than a podcast, it's a win. This is the staffing playbook. Let's get to work, it starts right now.
Welcome back to the Staffing Playbook podcast. This is part 2 of our 3-week tell-all series, Behind the Curtain. I'm your host, Steve Farrell, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Genevieve Bourgeois. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Welcome back. I am just excited about this episode. Last week, we heard from the MSP and VMS side how agencies either win big or flame out inside a program. Today, we slide the spotlight over to people who fill every success, every mishire firsthand, HR leaders, what really happens after your candidate no-shows, after your invoice lands, or after, for you salespeople, just circling back email hits their inbox. So to peel back the curtain, I've invited 2 seasoned pros who's promised zero sugarcoating, Megan Gill and Shane Fisher. Megan and Shane, welcome to the podcast. How are you guys today?
Doing great.
Doing good. Doing good. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to do a brief introduction for both of you. We'll start with Megan. Megan brings 6 years on the staffing agency side and nearly 20 years in the corporate HR world. She's built recruiting agencies or engines, I should say, in logistics, tech, and manufacturing, trimming time to hire by 70% and saving 7 figures through data-driven workforce strategies. She's had a seat on both sides of the aisle here, sales chair in staffing, in the HR chair. She knows exactly which agency pitches land and which ones crash on arrival. Megan, did I miss anything?
Nope.
Awesome. Shane Fisher, he's logged 15 years running top performing branches for a national staffing firm before crossing the aisle over to the dark side, HR, where he spent the last 4 years scaling headcount and slashing turnover for a high growth consumer brand. He lives the quota grind and the HR pain points so he can spot a true partner or a pretender before the first intake call ends. Together, they've delivered a 360-degree view of talent. They've placed it, they've bought it, they fixed it, they fired it. So this is going to be our ideal guides for behind the curtain to tell all in HR. So buckle up. This next 45 minutes, we're going to dig in.
Yeah,
did I miss anything?
I didn't know you were giving me that much freedom to really talk, man. This is going to be exciting. This is awesome.
Oh, yes. Our audience is on the edge of their seat. If you think about it, staffing's been in a 28-month recession. It's been down for 28 months straight. And a lot of agencies out there are just looking for ways to, attract new customers, to improve the business that they have. And so it's likely each of you, Megan and Shane, you probably get 30 agencies knocking on your door every single week. And so, we want you guys to just spill the tea, the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to working with staffing agencies, what you see. And more importantly, we want to bring this full circle to what does a successful partnership look like between HR and their staffing partners.
Okay.
All right. Genevieve, any thoughts before we start jumping into the playbook?
I'm ready to be taken play by play. That's
All
it.
right.
Let's dive in.
All right. So let's start off with one question I want both of you to answer. We'll start with you, Megan. In one sentence, what's the first word that comes to mind when you hear staffing agency?
Either partner or nightmare.
Ooh, partner
Ooh.
or nightmare.
Yeah.
Probably prefer the partner, right?
Right.
I love that. We're gonna dive into both of those with you. Shane, how about you? What's the first word that comes to mind when you hear staffing agency?
You know, having worked on both sides of it, I'm going to say gratitude.
Oh, gratitude.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, I'm really grateful for the agency I work with right now. And so I have I've had a really, really positive experience the past couple of years with them. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot of positivity from my side throughout this, but
We love that.
I got some negative stuff too.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, and to be fully transparent with our audience, so Shane Fisher is a customer of our staffing firm, and Megan is not. So we're going to get to hear both sides, which I can't wait.
Right on.
So generally speaking, do staffing agencies act like a commodity or a strategic workforce partner? We'll start with you, Shane. It's generally speaking, commodity.
Generally speaking, I'd say commodity.
Commodity.
And I think that's what kind of that's not the way to go. You know, I think as a partner, when you establish yourself, I think a lot of it has to do with respect, and just in talking with the companies, you know, I think I can, I think I can bring down rates. I can do things, but a lot of it is, you know, I want that company to be happy with me as well. You know, like I said, I'm grateful to work with a company that cares as much about my success as they do about their own. And I want them to know that I care about their success as well. So, you know, there are lots of times I just say, hey, I'm comfortable right here where we are. I don't need to bring you down anymore, you know, because I know that if I do, I might lose some of this and this and this and some of these benefits that we're getting.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for me, you know, it's got to be all about a partnership.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. You're right about that. This industry has been commoditized. We've always been a commodity. It's just COVID that was kind of exposed, and a lot of agencies had to respond to go, it can't just be price driven. We're going to price ourselves out of the market, out of business. And so we've got to do something different.
Yeah.
Megan, how about you? Generally speaking, staffing agencies, commodity or strategic workforce partner?
Yeah, I think I agree with Shane. I think for the most part, I think it has been commodity driven, but I think I've worked with others that are that have become strategic partners. And I think the good ones are strategic partners. They understand that in order to be successful, you have to be a strategic partner to your to the people you work with.
100%. You agencies, I hope you're listening. You just heard that both, you know, see us generally speaking as a commodity, as an industry, but what they really want is a strategic workforce partner. So hope everyone's paying attention right now.
It's about having a symbiotic relationship because, like, coming to the table, actually communicating, respecting one another, and actually really building that relationship of trust.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, once you have it, it's, you know, there are so many concerns and issues and complaints that just disappear instantly. And, you know, being on this side, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. You know, from an HR perspective, it's like, you know, when I have someone who cares about their people and who's looking out for them and who's there, and who also cares about me, it's fantastic. It makes my life so much easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So I want to get into the bad and the ugly first before we get into the good. Okay. Let's have a little fun here because there's plenty of bad out there, and I think we need to talk about it.
We need to hear more about that nightmare.
That's right. So let's start it off with a question for both of you, and we'll start with you, Megan. And if it's not applicable, let me know. But walk us through the last time you had to fire a staffing partner. What triggered that decision?
Yeah, so it wasn't that long ago that I went into a company. Um, I had started with a company and we were evaluating our staffing partners. And at the time, we were looking to downsize the number of partners that we were working with. And that was really due to the fact that when you work with fewer, you have a better strategic relationship. Um, and we were evaluating who we were working with, and we started we were hiring on our best people to look at who we had. And we found that we had several people that we could not hire on because they could not do I-9s. And we had to fire
Ooh,
staffing firms because of that. So
that's a big deal.
that was a very big deal for us. We were in a space where we were federally regulated. And that became a huge issue that we had to
Yeah.
report. Hmm.
That's not just a service failure. I mean, it's a huge service failure, but now you're crossing over into, you know, legal compliance that it could get both of you in trouble.
Yep, it was a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
and
big
that's
misstep there.
risky business.
Yeah.
That's risking your business, their business. Oh my goodness, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a big one.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. That's a good way to start it out. That's more than bad. That's ugly.
I told you, a nightmare, right?
It's a
Yeah.
nightmare.
Why do you think I just said it was a nightmare?
Shane, how about you?
You know, we were kind of in the same boat. We were using 3 different agencies, and when I came in, and I'm thinking, you know, like I said, it's always about the success of others. I'm looking at our finance department. They're like, I don't want to handle invoicing for 3 different companies, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that. So we had to look deep at who we were using, and one company in particular, they were the ones who were always coming over saying, "Oh, we'll do this for you. We'll do that. We'll do this, and we can do this." And I'm like, "Well, do you think you could take a minute to hear my thoughts and let you know what I need instead of just pushing all of this on me?" And I mean, the one we still laugh about it a little bit above his office. It says El Jefe, and I'm just like, dude, I'm like. I mean, I'm as cocky as they get. You know, I'm a pretty confident person, but I not like that. You know, and just things like that. And you know, when for me, and that I think a lot of companies are out there, a lot of agencies are knocking on the door saying, "Hey, we can make your company better. We know this and we know that." And it's like, well, you know, I kind of know those things too, but I'm not really interested in that. How about you sit down for a minute and listen to me and find out what we need? And so
Yes.
for me, those are the things that we kind of looked at. We were like, okay, we're not getting that from this company. You know, the other company, they lost their personal aspect where they wouldn't even meet face to face with people before they hired them on.
Oh,
They were
wow.
just, you know, you fill out the application, we'll hire you, and then we'll send you out to a client. And we were like, well, we don't dig that either. We don't want that. You know, we love people, and we want to make sure that they're the right fit. And so, you know, we ended that one as well. And then like I said, we found the agency that we are with who set up that time and said, hey, you know what, let's talk. And
Yeah.
they were able to listen, and we had common beliefs. And, you know, much like we mentioned before, building those relationships of trust, well, a lot of it is on that common belief. And we believe that people should be treated the same. And we believe that, you know, how the agency operates and how we operate, that we have the same ideas there. And that's why that's why we went with that. But yeah, so many companies just come in and they're just like, we'll make you better. We'll make you better. We know what we're doing. And it's like, well, thanks, but not interested.
They're just reinforcing the stigma of being a commodity. It's like,
Right.
you just told everyone you want to be heard. Like, talk to me about my challenges, my business, my aspirations. I could care less about you until you care about me first.
Once you
And-
hear those things, and if you say, hey, Shane, you know, what if you tried doing this, or what if we tried doing this? I'd be open to that, you know, but just don't come in and say, no, don't worry, we'll take care of this. It's like, yeah.
And I just want to go back to something that you said just a minute ago, but like companies just sending you people because they applied. I bet that probably impacted your retention rate because not everyone's going to be a good fit for the job, right? And that's
Exactly.
costly.
And we do. I mean, I think Auto Leave deals with a lot of manufacturing and a lot of like line work and things like that as well. As do we. And just making sure that people hit those requirements and meet those requirements. I mean, if I'm looking for a job, I'm probably going to say whatever you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do this? Yes, I can. Can you do that? Are you great at math? Yes, I am. I'm not. I'm not great at math, but I'm going to tell you I am.
That's right.
You can't find those things out just online with an online app. You got to talk to people and meet them. Yeah.
No, and the fact, your finance team having too many invoices, too many agencies, that's a full-time job in itself to manage all the different invoices and the discrepancies and working with 3 different account managers. And so being able to rely on one agency partner, that one invoice, one point of contact that, shows up, is there to provide value, to listen, to learn, and to just partner with you makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're ecstatic. They don't have to worry about this, and they too, they have a good relationship with the agency as well. So it's been fun.
Thank you. All right, more bad and ugly here. We'll start with you, Megan. Which missteps, which missteps hurt your employer brand the most when a temp assignment goes sideways?
I think terminations, right? So I think if the temp agency isn't in line with how you're treating your employees and they're not willing to match that, then that can go wrong very quickly and hurt your employer brand because that's a reflection of you. So we've experienced that. We have on-sites here. And if their on-sites aren't handling people with the same dignity and respect that we expect from our managers, that can go wrong very quickly.
Yeah, you bring up such a great point. I know you and I had talked about this earlier this week on, just when you're hiring somebody, that experience can be positive or negative. If they don't get the job, or if they get the job, doesn't matter. But the way you treat them through that process, they can either be an advocate of your brand or a detractor. And the same goes with terminations. If your agency isn't handling it the same way you would, being kind but firm, it's gonna hurt your brand, and they're gonna tell their friends, their family, they're gonna blow you up on social media, all because the termination just wasn't handled properly.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say word of mouth in this industry is probably it's either the thing that helps you the most or it hurts you the most.
And so there's a statistic with that. I want to say if you have a negative experience with any brand, like let's just say, like a restaurant or like doctor's office, anything else like that, even anything that you have a negative experience with, that person is more likely to go tell 10 people about a negative experience versus 3 people if it's a positive experience.
For sure. And it drives my kids nuts when we get excellent customer service somewhere, and I'll be like, I'm that guy who's like, hey, excuse me, but could I speak with your manager for a moment? And I just want to make sure that they're acknowledged and that the compliment is there and they know, hey, you know what, this person's valuable. And to be quite honest, I might even poach this person from you. I think they can help me. And so you have those things, and but like you said, when you get that negative reputation, oh my gosh, whether it's the staffing agency that created it, or knock on wood, it isn't this way, but if we create it, it sticks with you.
Sure does.
It is hard to get rid of that.
So Shane, would you agree with Megan then on the missteps that hurt employee brand is just the way you're treating associates, when they're being let go or when they're hired?
Yeah, definitely. I think there is a way. There's definitely a way to do it. It's not just, hey, you're fired, leave. And there are going to be some where it's like, hey, you know what? We got to end this. That's it. But there are others where, it's just like, this job is not for you. But I would like to say we have an opening in this department. If you're interested, we could try to do that. And we have a training program, and we have some other things that we could try to do. And so once again, when I meet with our on-site and we're like, okay, this individual we're having problems with this individual. Well, have they been coached? Have they been trained? Have they had their mentor? Those types of things. And, because if you treat people poorly, man, I don't want to be that company. I really honestly don't. And I remember once, I never try on shoes, right? This is kind of a tangent, but I never try on shoes. I'm at the outlet, I'm at Nike, and I'm sitting down, I'm like, I'm trying on these shoes, because I got kind of wide feet, fat feet.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, and Nike's tight. Anyways, so I try them on, and a lady did come up to me and just said, I want you to know something. And I was like, hi. And I had a shirt on. She's like, my husband worked at your company. And I was like, that's good. That's good. And 99% of the time I'm getting compliments. And she said, the agency let him go.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, well, I'm sorry about that, and she was just like, he really enjoyed it, but, they just let him go.
Wow.
And, I just sat there and I was like, man, I'm never trying on shoes again. But, it's that, like you said, it's 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 1 out of 10. That 1 out of 10 hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, to see that. And so that's something we definitely want to avoid.
Yeah. Wow. All right. I want to move into more here. Yeah. You guys have all experienced a crisis, right? And, working with your agency partners, we're dealing with people. And so sometimes there's a crisis that just happens. You can count on it. But when it comes to those crises, we've all get those updates from our agency partners. And we'll start with you, Megan. What's the most tone-deaf message you've received from an agency during a crisis?
I thought about this one, and I honestly couldn't think of anything.
That's good. Kudos to your agency partners.
I was the agency partner during COVID. And
Mm,
so when that happened, I was trying to think of how I responded, and I can say I was we were super careful about how we talked to our partners during COVID, because
Yeah.
you want to try to be really respectful of what people are going through. But I'm sure I was that partner who at some point came off tone deaf, right?
Mm,
So as much as I'd like to say I wasn't, Shane made a good point of when an agency is coming and telling you what you need. I think that's when you come off, a partner, an agency comes off tone deaf.
yes.
Crisis or not, anytime I have somebody approaching me and saying, we know what you need. This is what you need. This is what we can do for you, without asking, how are things going? Or is there something, you're struggling with, or any challenges? That's when I think there's that tone deaf.
Oh, you speak so much truth there. That's spot on. When an agency comes in telling you what you need before they ask you what you need, it's like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And back when I worked in sales, the biggest thing I learned, go in, introduce yourself, and listen, because
Yeah.
people will tell you 75% of the problems that they're dealing with in about the first 10 minutes. Have that actual genuine conversation. So no,
Yeah.
I think that's a great takeaway.
It's excellent. How about you, Shane? Any what's the most tone deaf message you've received from an agency during a crisis?
We're working on it.
We're working on it. Oh, no.
I think, going back to COVID and kind of being on the opposite end of that, we had a lot of people a lot of the companies we worked with, they came at us and they were like, hey, what are you guys doing about this? What are you able to do it? And we had a fantastic trainer, Rosie is her name, Rosie Roberts. And she was helping us do this and do that. And we actually developed a system, and we were able to say, hey, you know what?
1 second, Shane.
Yeah.
Getting some feedback. Okay, go ahead. It stopped.
No, so Rosie came down and we worked together as a team, and we were able to develop a recruiting system where, yeah, we did have to lose some of that personal aspect, and we went to a pre-screen phone, but then we still invited them into the office to do the actual hiring and like a final little interview. And to be able to tell those companies, well, we understand the problem, we understand your concern, this is what we're doing about it, benefited us tremendously. And so anytime I hear a company just say, hey, you have a 70% retention rate. Okay, well, thanks. What are we doing about those 30% that we're losing? And to just not have any ideas or to not be proactive. Just to me, that's a relationship killer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, did I ever say we're working on it? Like, that's not a solution. We're working on it. Well, what are you working on exactly?
Well, I know I've totally been guilty of like sending emails being like noted or duly noted.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But not when I was working like running a 360 desk. That's more so like now that
Just
I'm back in
emails
like,
to
marketing.
me. Noted.
Oh yeah. I think I probably send him at least like that 4 times a week.
Every once in a while.
Oh no, like 4 times a week, because Steven has this wonderful ability of being like, hey, I've got this great idea. Let's talk about it. And like noted.
Yeah. even now when I get like directors from other departments or whatever, and they'll be like, yeah, we're working on it. I'm like, oh no, you're not. I was like, no, you're not. Let's get together a little bit and let's follow up on this one and create a plan of action. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one phrase that just strikes fear in me.
All right, I want to spend just a few minutes on the outreach from salespeople. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this, both of you are probably getting harassed 24/7 by salespeople. So when you look at your phone and your inbox being bombarded by agencies every day, typically salespeople, describe the last outreach attempt that made you instantly hit the delete button. We'll start with you, Shane.
Okay, I'm not going to say the company.
Yeah, don't worry about saying the company.
Yeah, but no, they reached out probably 3 or 4 times. Email, LinkedIn, same individual. And I replied, hey, you know what? Not interested right now. Thanks for reaching out. Appreciate you. Trying to be as polite, because we're not here to burn bridges, right?
Yeah.
You never know. So it's like, boom, and then coming in and talking to the front desk and trying to get by them, and or being here and watching me leave the building and coming up and catching me. I'm not exaggerating. This
you had a sales rep just waiting for you to get
right
off of work.
And I'm just like, wow, this is rough. And then to actually maybe burn that bridge, a little bit and just say, look, you got to just listen to me. We're not interested. Once again, it comes down to that relationship. And I think a lot of the time we're able to say, we're very happy. We're one of my favorite sayings is always happy, never satisfied. We're very, very happy with the agency we have. And they keep improving and doing this and doing that after looking at the issues that we're having in any given quarter and working with us. And so I'm very upfront with people and just say, you know what, I respect you guys. I'll help you. Some of the other agencies, I've helped them get some major clients, and speaking with their executive teams and kind of representing them a little bit. I'm happy to do that for other people, but just, once I kind of appreciate just like understanding where we are and knowing if I need you or if I need someone else, I'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
But just please understand that I don't want you waiting by my car when I walk out of the building. Even if you do have a crumble cookie in hand, I'll take your cookie. But
maybe not that sales rep waiting by your car.
Exactly.
There might be something in that cookie.
Back when I was doing sales and everything, it was one of those things. I was trying to get to this client and they politely responded to me. They're like, I don't have a need right now. Talk to me after April 1st. So what do you think I did? I set a calendar reminder for April 2nd.
Yeah.
And I did not communicate or send them a single thing for 3 months. And guess what? I ended up getting an order from them. Do you know what? Because I respected that. And they're like, wow, thank you for actually waiting.
100%.
That, like, it's just listening to people and just not bombarding them. So
Yeah,
great
totally.
point. Great point.
Megan, hopefully you haven't had any stalkers waiting by your car.
Oh, I've
But-
been lucky, I guess.
What type of outreach attempt that made you instantly like hit delete or hang up or excuse that sales rep?
Yeah, so it was one agency in particular, and we had told the agency, hey, there's a manager who does not want to be contacted. If you're, if you want to connect, you can reach out to me directly, but please don't reach out to this manager anymore. And so, and I gave them a timeline. We're not looking right now, but you can reach out to me on after this date. And I got a response back and said, this manager's horrible and you should know that no one likes working with them. And I mean, they just went off. And I said, okay, this is inappropriate and we won't be using you again. And
Great first impressions.
right. And then they
There-
came back. They had a new rep contact me at the timeline that I had said to contact me. And I said, we're not using you. I explained this to the last person. And then that new rep went off on me and said, you guys are horrible to work with. No one likes working with your company. I mean, it was just a really weird situation. And then they contacted me again. So that time, just delete.
They've got some bad attitudes.
Yeah.
I was like, this seems to
Unsubscribe.
be this company's MO about how to speak to people. Like they must train their reps this way because it was very similar situation.
It seems like this industry is training sales reps as certified stalkers now. We need to reevaluate our sales approach.
Yeah. All right. We got to do that. Make sure we're not scaring you all. Sorry. Like,
So-
like between stalkers and just like people aggressively blowing up. Sorry.
Hey.
Those are
Yeah.
nightmares.
It's odd.
That's ugly. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you guys have gatekeepers that typically screen the agencies from the front, from the phones, from the emails? Like, did you guys have somebody that screens out agencies pretty often?
As far as emails and things like that, no. Our front desk, definitely. That's a sign to me. If you can't treat everyone with respect, then we definitely don't want you around here. Our front desk is responsible for so much. Yeah. They are the face of this company, and they generate that culture. And we've had so many people who come in and just say, hey, you know what? There's something special about this place. As soon as I walk through the doors, when Steph and Jane greeted me and and it's always Steph and Jane. And so if they come up to me and they're like, hey, you know what? Steven came in and he represented this company and he was a little rough. He was weird. He was hostile and he was demanding. Whatever the case might be, then I definitely listen to them.
Yeah.
And and we won't deal with that place.
Over at Megan's company, they've got security guards that stop you. They duct tape your phone shut. It's pretty intense.
It's true. It's true. We've got things on lock.
You got it on lockdown. Good thing I know a lot of people, so I'm giving security hugs, but they still don't let me in.
Just bring them lunch.
Right.
Everyone's got to eat.
Food's always the answer. It's always the answer.
You do need to obviously be genuine and friendly with anybody that's a gatekeeper. Like, I think you need to make them your friend. Like, get to know the organization through them before you even talk to somebody in HR, because maybe it's not the right company you want to work with, or maybe they can be pretty clear. Like, look, you're the 20th agency that's walked in here. We do not have a need. And it's like, oh, okay, then why am I going to keep knocking? I spend my time every week visiting you if you truly don't have a need. Like, let me now just start getting to know you and other people, and maybe if there's a need down the road, maybe I can help, but let's not force ourselves onto you.
And what you said right there is great. Build that relationship with them before you even think about building a relationship with the back office. Just go in and just say, hey, no, I was just stopping by, wanted to introduce myself to you, and got this for you. Here's my card. If you guys ever need anything, let me know. Oftentimes our HR generalist stuff is at that front desk. And if they just make friends with stuff, they're in.
Yeah.
And so for you to bring that up, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
You never know who you're talking to.
You never know. Yeah. I had an HR manager or director of HR manning the front desk, and I go in with my typical kind of, sales pitch. This was years ago, and find out she's the director of HR, and I totally messed that one up. Never got back in. All right. Next question. We'll start with you, Megan. I want you to finish this sentence. If agencies did blank consistently, 80% of your headaches would disappear.
Listen, I think. Listen.
Ooh, that is a theme from our first episode.
Yes, it is.
Listen. Yeah. Shane, how about you?
I'm going to go with do follow-ups. And once again, that involves listening.
Yeah.
But especially like follow-ups with their team members. I'd love to hear it when Kenneth comes over and says, hey, you know what? This is a response we got, whether it be positive or negative. So to know that those are happening and to find out, hey, yeah, we're doing this right, then I don't have to worry about this so much. Or, I can really stress that, hey, we got to do this, and those headaches go away.
Yeah.
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 It sounds like just like clear communication, just be fully transparent, listen, communicate, follow up, whether it's the good, the bad, on what happened. That way you're not just left there dangling, being like, hey, what's going on?
But to your point, it goes back to the trust that you developed. I'm able to say, all right, you know what? I trust this individual coming in and saying that if it's an idea to improve upon, I trust that from him, And if it's a compliment, then guy, who isn't open to compliments? You can compliment me all day. That's great. But yeah, I would say that just follow up so we know where we stand with those team members.
Right. Like if you have bad news, we want to hear. Our productions has a workforce to rely on. If we're going to be short, they need to know as soon as possible.
Yep.
All right. So just because of timing here, I want to move into the good. And so I want to start with this question. We'll start with sales, and then we're going to move into service. So when an unfamiliar sales rep cold calls you, what 2 signals, or it can be 1, tell you they've actually done their homework and deserve 5 more minutes? Who wants to take that first?
Go ahead, Shane.
With me? All right. we talked about stalking on LinkedIn and stuff. I'm actually really happy when people like stalk me and they're able to say, hey, you know what? We looked at you on LinkedIn. One, you know my name. And so that's special. You know, if you don't know who you're talking to, then, you know, do a little bit of background. But to come in and know my name and then to say, hey, you know, we noticed that you did this and this, or, you know, that you're looking for this, just those little things to show that, you know, it's not just you're going door to door to door. There's a purpose for you to be there. And you have done a little digging and you're like, hey, I know that you're looking for this, or, you know, have you had any issues looking at this or looking for this type of person? And give me a little bit. That way I'll at least give you that 5 minutes and find out a little bit about you. And like we said, you know, this time probably not interested, but give me your info and get back with me in 3 months. That's fantastic. I'll do that all day. You know? But yeah,
that's powerful.
Do a little bit of digging and find out about the company and find out about me and see what we need.
Yeah. Do your homework.
Yeah.
Megan, how about you? What signal or two that you've had a sales rep actually that they've done their homework and they got 5 more minutes of your time?
Yeah, I think for me it's industry. Like I want to know you've worked with similar companies or you have the capacity to handle the type of roles that we work on. Yeah, for me it's industry and similar experience.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have someone say, you know, I've done my homework on you, Megan, and your company. Here's some of the really neat things I've learned, you know, about your company. I've read some of your you know, news articles, and you know, interesting enough, we have another customer we supported very similar to you, and now there's some relatability. There's that industry experience and that knowledge of working with someone just like you.
Yeah, in Utah, I think our industry, I mean, there's not a lot of automotive in Utah, and so it'd be nice to have somebody who understands what we do and understands that there's not going to be the perfect candidate. So figuring out how to fill our roles with somebody who's going to work would be great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. Next question, Shane. Tell us about a moment when a staffing partner made you look like a rock star internally. What did they do specifically to help you look like a rock star?
I'll do right on. And I hope it's okay that I throw out names, but, you know, like I said, right now, just 3 months ago, we've been going through this growth spurt that's just incredible. You know, we were basically at like 35 staffing team members. And in the past, I would say 9 months, we're up to about 420. I know, right? Right. It's like
that's a ramp up.
That's a jump.
And so, and you know what? It's giving those orders to our branch and just saying, look, this is what we need. We need 30 people by Tuesday, you know, and then getting an order 5 minutes later and saying, you know what, we need to bump that up. So now we need another 25 people on Wednesday, you know, and doing things like that. And to be able to guarantee, you know, our COO or whomever, yeah, we'll have those people here. It makes me look good. It really does.
That's a big commitment.
It is. And they have an incredible fill rate percentage. Incredible. You know, and understandably, yeah, there's going to be a little bit higher turnover, you know, when you're asking for that many people that quickly. Yeah. But to go up to that and to keep it established, honestly, it got me a new set of golf clubs and some things, you know, where they were like, hey, it's been incredible. We can rely on you. We can depend on you. You know, you're handling your people great. And a lot of that has to do with Hannah and Kenneth and getting us the people, getting us listening to us and getting us the right people as well as they can. You know, when you have that kind of demand, obviously there are going to be some issues. But like I said, it's incredible to me having worked on the other side. And I'm going to say this. So those companies that I worked with, there were a couple of fake names on your orders. I just want to tell you that.
Oh no.
Just to come out in the open, but when I order 35 people and I have 35 people at orientation, it's awesome.
It's rock star status right there.
It truly is, and no one has a doubt. They're like, it's going to happen. And
which is great for your
down to the agency.
That's great for your planning, your budgets, hitting your vendor goals, like meeting those orders.
And it sounds like really just having a true actual partner in business who can go and help grow with the speed of your business is one of the biggest things. Plus, you also got golf clubs.
Yeah, I got the golf clubs I wanted too, but yeah, and once again, it's having that understanding, and that honesty. I did get one call one time from of them saying, you know what, we're a little scared. We're a little scared that we're not going to be able to fill your order tomorrow. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you for letting me know. I can let management know. We can push it back 2 days. And they still got it filled. But to get that call and just say, hey, look, just maybe be prepared. We might be a little short tomorrow.
Yeah.
Once again, able to talk to management. We're able to make sure that we're able to run. And it just shows the proper organization. And like I said, that helped me look good. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm grateful for that.
Thank you, Shane. What an incredible story and a case study. Megan, how about you? A moment when a staffing partner made you look like a rock star. What did they do?
Yeah, I was working at one of the previous companies I worked for. We had kind of a crazy schedule because we were working in the supply chain industry, and we didn't always know when our shipments were coming in. And the staffing agency helped create a staffing plan where we would have people come when we needed them. It was regulated as well, and this is one of those times where this was the company that we had the I-9 issue, and we were working with a staffing partner that we hadn't used a lot, but we were trying to fill the gaps with the people that we had let go. And they came in and created a plan for us so that we'd have a set of people that could come in and fill in the gaps when we needed them. So they weren't set people, like they didn't have a set schedule, but they would come in. They were guaranteed a couple times a month, but they'd be available for us. So we knew they were I-9'd and they had the proper documentation, but they'd be available to us, which was a huge deal because it wasn't guaranteed work.
Wow. So you, in the midst of having to let all these people go due to, their I-9 status not being complete, to have a backup plan where you have fully vetted people, fully qualified, pass I-9, E-Verify, to be able to just fill in temporarily. That's a huge deal.
Yeah,
Well,
like
yeah.
scaling JIT and like employees or associates, that's huge.
Yeah, and they'd come and just, take and unload the trucks when we had them come in, but not have that guaranteed work. That was a huge deal for us.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right. We are coming up on time, so I'm going to do just a rapid fire, just like 1 second answers. You guys have been so great. I have a feeling we're going to be forced to bring both of you on just to get to more of the good. But let's do a rapid fire, just 1 sentence answers.
Okay.
Let me start with you, Megan. If you could bottle one element of your best agency relationship and give it to every supplier, what would it be?
Strategic partnership. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Yes. Shane?
I think just respect.
Respect.
Respect towards us, respect towards them. Mutual respect.
Love that. 30-second voicemail or 200-word email? Shane?
If you know me, you know I leave my phone at my desk, and it is at my desk all day long. I do not like phone calls. I do not answer phone calls that I don't recognize. So the voicemail, definitely. I'll go with email.
Email. Okay. Megan?
Phone call.
Phone call. All right. Megan, LinkedIn direct message before or after the first call. So, this is a sales rep reaching out to you. Do you want that direct message from LinkedIn before or after they call you?
It doesn't matter. I'm
Doesn't matter.
probably not going to respond.
Neither. I love the honesty. It's so true. Shane, how about you?
Before definitely. And much like Megan, I'm probably not going to respond to the phone call either. So definitely reach out to me first.
Yeah. Sorry, getting some crackling feedback.
I blame
All right.
Steven on that. Like, I'm like, don't even leave me a voicemail.
Yeah.
I'd rather get the 200-word email and then knowing that we're gonna have a call, okay,
Right.
like at a set time, rather than just a random call. I like to plan everything out.
Just don't AI it. Don't chat GPT it.
Yeah.
Whoa, Steven, did you hear that?
Guilty. All right. Weekly. We'll start with you, Megan. Weekly scorecard or quarterly business review from your agency?
Quarterly business review.
Love it. Shane?
Mhm.
Right on, same. Quarterly.
And here I wanted to, I keep having this like idea in my mind. I want a weekly scorecard that you can log into and see real-time stats, but you're still saying quarterly business review.
Well, time
Yeah.
is the most valuable thing that we have to offer. You know what I mean? And you've got to respect your time. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's why I mean, even if someone was like, hey, monthly, I'd do it.
Yeah.
But quarterly, I think is good and appropriate. It's great time because the entire organization, I know that we do this internally, but it's like we go and we set up our goals. We take a look at the previous quarter, figure out what we're going to do moving
Yeah.
forward. what
I
we're
love the
winning.
idea of real-time data. If that's available, I'll go and look at it, but I do like quarterly business reviews.
Okay. You've given me enough to, maybe explore it more.
Yeah, and we have an on-site, so she and I we talk, and so I kind of know where we stand on a weekly thing. But I do love analytics, and I see more of that quarterly, and I love that.
Yeah. Good. All right. I skipped a lot of questions I want to ask you, but because of time, I've got one more question for each of you. In 30 seconds, give one commandment every staffing firm must follow in 2025. So you got to start thou shalt, not or do. So who wants to take it? Who wants to go first?
I'll go with it. I'll say the one thing that was told to me when I was hired on was love my people. So thou shalt love your people. That's what it's all about.
I love that.
Yeah.
I second that. Thou shalt love your people. That's perfect.
Wow.
Well,
Guys.
we are in the business of people, and it comes back
Yeah.
to being passionate about them because we impact their lives, they impact ours, and I love that. I third
love
it.
it too. Yeah.
Well, that comes straight from the book of Shane.
The book of Shane. Shane and Megan, this has been such a treat. You have, I don't know if you realize this, but you've provided so much value to staffing firms. Hopefully those tuning in will take note to what Megan and Shane have shared. It's this relationship building, and it's building a genuine connection. Genevieve, is there any points you want to recap to wrap it up?
Always, because I take notes. And so essentially, like, the key takeaways, like, just kind of play by play. Hey, be genuine. Let's build a good, trustworthy relationship, right? Communication, being a strategic partner and actually listening. Okay, I'm going to say it slower. Listening to what the actual problems are rather than going in gun ho, and just being honest. Because if it's one of those things, it's like, hey, yes, no, we can do this. Oh, make sure we always follow up too. But you got to make sure that you're in communication and just letting them know, hey, the good, bad, and ugly, no matter what, this way you still have that clear communication, transparency, and you know what expectations. Did I miss anything?
That's spot on. That's like drop the mic.
Yep.
Mic drop. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. This is the second part of our 3-part series, Behind the Curtain, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Staffing Agencies. Be sure to tune in next week for our final segment. We have 2 additional HR guests that will be doing a tell-all and also providing the playbook of what a successful partnership looks like in 2025. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Shane. Thanks,
you.
Megan.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching today's episode. This episode is sponsored by Staffing Referrals. We have relied on staffing referrals for years to turn satisfied associates into brand ambassadors, keeping quality talent coming in and lift retention. See what it can do for you at staffingreferrals.com or click on the link in the description. Thanks for watching.